I think this is not only obviously the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career, but in a career that's filled with almost nothing but huge fights, this is the biggest fight of Canelo Alvarez's career.
A lot stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Not being able to boil himself down like that, and even though it is a huge jump, I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked at 140.
You said you don't think, or you don't look into the weight difference. Why?
Well, you know how to box. When you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter much.
As the countdown continues toward the blockbuster clash between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, veteran analyst Max Kellerman has given his final word on the matchup. Known for his razor-sharp breakdowns and ability to frame modern bouts within boxing's rich history, Kellerman steps back into the spotlight as part of Netflix's all-star commentary team. His presence brings not just credibility, but also a sense of gravity to what is shaping up to be one of the most defining nights in recent boxing history.
A great chin. But in terms of if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy, who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around. Like Lara, Trout, Floyd, he followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counterpuncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford.
Okay.
But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton than Crawford. No matter what they weigh, Canelo's the bigger guy.
Yeah.
Kellerman didn't mince words, labeling Canelo versus Crawford as the most anticipated and potentially the most watched title fight in nearly half a century. To underline the significance, he drew parallels with the legendary Muhammad Ali versus Leon Spinks rematch of 1978, a bout that drew a jaw-dropping 90 million television viewers. He emphasized that with Netflix stepping into boxing, this contest is far more than a mega event. It represents a seismic shift in how the sport is consumed. Unlike traditional pay-per-view, the platform's global reach could multiply viewership, transforming the business model of boxing for decades to come.
But like, where would you rank this fight out of your top 3 to 5 of all the boxing fights you've called, you've experienced, you've watched?
In terms of the magnitude of the
magnitude,
fight?
Yeah.
I mean, of the fights that I've called ringside, it might turn out to be number 1. I've done Pacquiao fights. I've done Mayweather fights. I've done Anthony Joshua against Klitschko. Those are big fights. But listen, because of Netflix, this will be the most watched championship fight in almost 50 years. This is going to be because Muhammad Ali fought Leon Spinks in the rematch in 78, and they did 90 million TV sets. 90 million. And since then, what has even come close? The biggest fights have all been on pay-per-view, and they do 2 million buys. Oh my God, 4 million buys, Mayweather Pacquiao. As I keep saying, if 5 people per TV set watch, that's 20 million people. This is going to do multiples of that. So when you look at it from like a commercial point of view, it'll easily be the biggest boxing event I've ever covered.
Promoter Dana White recently confirmed that Max Kellerman will return to the broadcast booth for Netflix's coverage of the highly anticipated September 13th showdown at Allegiant Stadium. The celebrated analyst, whose career spans ESPN, HBO, and Showtime, joins John Anik and Hall of Famer Andre Ward to call the action. For Kellerman, this marks not just a comeback, but a reunion with the sport's biggest stage. He described the fight as the perfect storm to elite pound-for-pound greats colliding at the peak of their careers. Kellerman acknowledged that while Canelo long held the pound-for-pound crown, Crawford now has a strong claim, making this fight historically rare. As he noted, only about 25 to 30 fighters in history have been considered true pound-for-pound kings, and both men currently sit in that elite bracket.
I want to bring up the first member of our broadcast team. He is the best boxing analyst in the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Kellerman.
All right, so I know you guys are excited about this fight, but I don't think you understand what a big deal it is. This is a perfect storm. First of all, Turki Al-Sheikh, we're lucky he happens to be a boxing fan. None of this happens if he doesn't happen to be a boxing fan. It's just none of us are here. Nick Khan, the best in the business. Dana White. Dana White is the greatest combat sports promoter of my lifetime. And it's his first ever boxing promotion. So that's who's behind what you're going to see. You know who's the best pound for pound fighter in the world? The most recent one. Bud Crawford. Apologies to the monster and Usyk. Bud Crawford has my vote for best pound for pound. Who was the best pound for pound before Bud? Canelo Alvarez, universally recognized that way. But it's not just these two guys, the last two best pound for pound fighters in the world. There haven't been that many. Before Canelo, who do you have? Before Canelo, Floyd or Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather. Before you could take the lineage back, there have only been, 25 or 30 fighters who ever lived who you said that's the best pound for pound fighter in the world. These are two of them, the last two. And they're going to fight in Las Vegas on September 13th. Canelo is 62-2 with 2 draws, 62-2. So was Marvin Hagler when Sugar Ray Leonard moved up to fight him and they produced one of the biggest spectacles in the history of boxing. This fight is a perfect storm. I could not be more excited to be a part of it.
Former champion Timothy Bradley Jr. foresees a slow-burning opening round rather than fireworks right out of the gate. He predicts a chess-like battle where both fighters study each other's timing, distance, and rhythm instead of risking reckless exchanges. Bradley explained that Crawford has a habit of patiently waiting for opportunities to set traps, while Canelo uses early rounds to gather data and make mid-fight adjustments. His analysis suggests fans should expect a cautious first round, with the real drama reserved for later, as both fighters shift from gathering intel to unleashing their full arsenals.
Feel his punching power as well. In the beginning, it's all the position balance. Like both guys are trying to get balance and trying to find their rhythm, understanding their distance to where they can punch and at the same time avoid getting hit. It takes Crawford a little bit more time than I would say Canelo to get right to it. Canelo, although he is a prolific counterpuncher, fantastic counterpuncher. He tends to find his spots a lot quicker. And the indication of that is when, if you look at any of the boxers that Canelo has faced, Trout, even Danny Jacobs, even when he fought against Charlo, you just check out the first round. He usually takes off, just feels the power, cruises, see what these guys know, couple of feints, level changes, gathering information, right? Crawford does the same and similar things. So I think the first round is going to be a real calm and cautious round by both fighters. But in the second round, Canelo's going to start applying that pressure, man. Pre-engagement with Crawford is a little bit more difficult than a Charlo, okay? And let me explain this. So pre-engagement is the movements before you get into that sweet spot, which is mid-range, to be able to let your hands go, right? Both guys are trying to counter each other's movement. Both guys are looking at each other's, hands, trying to anticipate what they believe is going to come next. During those periods right there, Crawford is one of the best at it, okay? Because he's smart. He's cerebral. Like a fighter to a fighter, we can feel when another fighter is like, oh, he's on my rhythm.
Reigning WBC lightweight champion Shocker Stevenson has been consistent and bold in his prediction. Terence Bud Crawford will not only defeat Canelo Alvarez, but may even stop him. Stevenson highlights Crawford's superior speed, ring IQ, and switch hitting ability as decisive advantages. He's gone as far as to say that Crawford will cook Canelo, warning fans this fight could turn into a one-sided match. What makes his conviction even stronger is that Stevenson has been making this call since 2021, never wavering from the belief that Crawford's precision, adaptability, and versatility make him the smart pick in this historic showdown.
I think Bud gonna cook Canelo. I think he's gonna cook him. I think, Canelo a hell of a fighter, but I think Bud just got all the tools to beat him. You don't think the weight difference is gonna be too big of a advantage?
I think y'all make that something, you know. In certain fights,
Boxing makes it something, not us.
like if this was like a Benavidez, he's actually a lot bigger than Bud, so that would like apply. But I feel like with Canelo, he's like physically kind of big, but like height wise, he's kind of small. So I don't think so. No, I think that's possible. Like I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think it's a possibility if Canelo gets to acting out of line and not understanding that Bud can crack too. So
Crawford's recent victory over Israel Madrimov at 154 pounds wasn't just another notch on his belt, it was a career-defining moment. By securing the WBA junior middleweight title in his debut at that weight, he became a 4-division world champion, joining boxing's most exclusive club. More impressively, he is now the first male fighter in the 4-belt era to achieve undisputed status in 2 divisions, super lightweight and welterweight. The Madrimov fight demonstrated not just his adaptability but his dominance. Facing a naturally stronger opponent known for physicality, Crawford neutralized him with sharp timing, accuracy, and elite defensive skills. The victory reassured fans that Crawford isn't merely surviving in higher weight classes, he's thriving, cementing his place as one of the sport's most versatile all-time greats.
August of 2024, he spent from 2018 until August of 2024, right? 6 years at 147. Okay. And he's had 8 fights at 147, all knockouts, and 1 fight at 154, which was a unanimous decision over Israel Madrimov. So you can make a case he's actually a welterweight jumping to 168. But he did make a pit stop at 54 and became a champion. So we have to acknowledge that because that goes into his accomplishment bags. That makes him a 4-division champion. So the concern is Terence Crawford jumping up in weight. This is a weight class that Canelo Alvarez has now been in since 2020. He's been at this weight for 5 years when he made his debut against Caleb Smith. But remind you, he fought against Danny Jacobs at 160 in 2019. Then in November of 2019, he jumped to 75 and fought Sergey Kovalev, then came back down to 68. So it's doable, right? But with that said, everybody's concerned with the weight and how Terence Crawford puts on the weight. So let's explain it. As you see the new photos that Terence Crawford has leaked, Terence Crawford has lean bulked. Okay, as you see here, Terence Crawford there, right? He has lean bulked. Okay, he put the bulk on in his weight, in his legs, and in his shoulders to be able to take the punch.
Trainer Dave Caldwell has pointed out an often overlooked weapon in Crawford's arsenal: his footwork. Known for switching stances seamlessly, Crawford uses his legs not only for defense but also to create angles that frustrate opponents and dictate the pace of fights. Caldwell believes this mobility will be crucial against Canelo, a fighter known for cutting off the ring and applying pressure. If Crawford can maintain distance, pivot away from the ropes, and control the geometry of the fight, Caldwell argues, he holds the keys to neutralizing Canelo's power and banking rounds on the scorecards.
When the fight got made, I've always fancied Crawford. I just think it's different. I think there's something about him. I think if you add what Crawford's good at, his brain, he can switch. He's very good as a southpaw. His judgment of distance is fantastic. His punch picking is fantastic. He's got good legs. When you add what, and he can pop. I mean, listen, I'm not saying he's got the power to hurt Canelo, but he might have the power to surprise Canelo a little bit and just sting him and just. But when you look at what Crawford does well, and then I look at this version of Canelo, as Canelo's got on, his punch rate's gone down. His feet have never been the fastest, but he's always had good placement of feet. His feet aren't the fastest. And he loads up. He loads up. And he don't really like boxing at a pace. So I kind of look at that and I think Crawford can manage his way through the fight to win it on points. I think he can manage moments, tough moments. When Canelo detonates a big shot on him, he's going to know about it because Crawford's been out before. And Crawford gets hit. He does get hit. That's why he's exciting. But he does get hit. So that means that Canelo could land on him. I just think that Canelo will land a bomb and Crawford knows enough to tie up, to get off at an angle.
Renowned trainer and analyst. Teddy Atlas adds another dimension to the discussion. Crawford's mentality. Atlas notes that Crawford hasn't learned how to lose, a reflection of his unshakable confidence and resilience. Beyond his speed, defense, and versatility, it is this mental toughness that makes him so dangerous. Atlas emphasized that Crawford's belief in his ability to win, even under extreme pressure, gives him an intangible advantage few fighters possess. For Atlas, this mindset transforms Crawford from simply being an elite fighter into a truly formidable force who thrives when the stakes are highest.
Crawford, his composure going to be like the moment a punch lands on him from Canelo.
Are you kidding me? Take that question back.
Yeah, why?
Because you're talking about Crawford.
Yeah.
He's
weight classes.
He's the most composed guy. Yeah. What, you don't think he'll be prepared? You think it'll be a shock to him? No. You think it'll be, oh my God, I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. That ain't happening with Crawford. Yeah. He knows exactly what he's getting himself and why. He's the one looking for it. He don't have nobody with a gun behind him saying you got to go do this. He's the one. And look, it's a tremendous challenge because Canelo's a tremendous fighter and bigger and strong, and he can obviously he can punch and he can time you and he can do all the things that have made him so special. There's no doubt about it. But we're forgetting about those things I just talked about with Crawford just because he's smaller. We're forgetting that. He'll come up with a game plan where he won't let the other guy use the side. Do you remember somebody named Manny Pacquiao when he was making his bones, the first time he hit the big stage? He got all these great fighters here. It was with a guy named Oscar De La Hoya, a hell of a fighter. And everyone said, oh, it'd be too small for him. And then I said, I gotta say, I got one right. I said, how about Manny's going to be too fast for him? Oh, Teddy, guys, how about he's going to be too quick? How about he's going to be like a couple of those mosquitoes and gnats at a barbecue and disrupt the whole damn barbecue? How about that? Yeah. Well, how about Crawford disrupts the whole damn barbecue?
Canelo Alvarez's career has long been the subject of divided opinions. Critics argue that some of his fights were strategically selected, while supporters insist he has fought and often beaten the best available. Canelo himself has dismissed the criticism, pointing out that many of his opponents entered the ring simply aiming to survive. He's faced champions across multiple divisions, taking on challenges others might avoid. And like Floyd Mayweather before him, he has sought out big names, regardless of timing. Canelo's unapologetic stance is clear. He doesn't care about outside noise, because his resume already speaks volumes, and few fighters in modern history can claim to have done more.
It's just a fact. Canelo has fought the who's who, sure. Were all of them in their prime? No, but that's not his fault. He moved up in weight to fight some people. He sought out difficult opponents and matchups. You know, the same way he was like, oh, Floyd didn't necessarily fight some of the best names in his resume at the best time in their career. Not his fault. Floyd went up and sought people out. So Canelo's sitting there like, yeah, I don't give a shit. And he's pretty much the only guy that can really say that, right?
I feel I'm the best, and that's it. I don't focus on if the people say or put me in the first position, I'm the best. I feel I'm the best. I'm doing because I love boxing.
I call Canelo out because, like I said, he the last great fighter amongst the era that surpassed us. This is my mega fight. This is my moment.
You didn't have much interest in this Crawford fight. You were saying that there wasn't much in it for you, and you pointed out that people will say that he was too small. What changed?
I think he's one of the best fighters for more fun. No, he accomplished a lot of things too. Mexican with the American fighter is always big.
When he fights you at Allegiant Stadium,
Canelo's like, I knew the money was crazy. That's why he's like, yeah, I knew that. The Mexican fighter versus the American fighter. Canelo can draw. Allegiant Stadium. That's what it is. I mean, yes, there's the element of greatness involved as well. But Canelo knew he was getting a bag for this. Canelo knew that Terence had to do all the difficult stuff. Let's be honest about it. This is why I favor Canelo in the fight.
For Max Kellerman, this upcoming bout isn't just another marquee event, it's the defining fight of Canelo Alvarez's career. While Canelo's Hall of Fame credentials are already secure, Kellerman argues that nothing he has achieved before matches the magnitude of facing Terence Crawford. Standing across the ring from an undefeated pound-for-pound technician represents the ultimate measuring stick. In Kellerman's eyes, victory would elevate Canelo to untouchable status in boxing history, while defeat would raise lingering questions about whether he could overcome the sport's toughest stylistic challenge. Either way, this fight will shape how Canelo's legacy is remembered for generations.
One thing about Canelo is he's been in a million big events. And I'm going to ask him about this just between you and me when he gets here. Don't tell him. But has he ever been in a bigger fight than this one? Is this everyone knows this is easily the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career. But has he ever been in a fight as big as Canelo Alvarez, who's been in a million huge fights? Floyd Mayweather, that was huge, and that was Floyd, but he was young then. He was young, and he wasn't going to be in front of, 50 million people worldwide. Because this ain't a pay-per-view. This is available to everybody. I think Triple G, those were big fights, but not like this.
Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe and like this video, and stay tuned for more like this.